there is a place for sports and athleticism, an important place actually, and it's always been recognized in the history of the church. I've even done some videos and reflections on athletics and the importance of athletics. And St. Paul uses athletic imagery constantly in his writings. He says, I box as not beating the air. I run the race to win, and that is a calling to all Christians. So athleticism has its place, but that is not the core of being masculine.
It's really a wake-up call to me when you were speaking about the importance of the mother. And I really had this like image of like, the home, and the womb of the home is where the springing forth of new life is happening, and how vital it is to nurture that, how that's anything that, I will ever achieve in my life will never amount to what my children could achieve. And I'm already carrying all this baggage with me. So, anything good I can do for myself, I could be doing, if I'm not addressing my children's needs and, helping them to be making the right decisions in their lives. So what it made me think is like, it's so hard as a married man, needing to earn money, needing to interact with, people around in society and stuff like that, to remember these things. Actually, I get so caught up in all the priorities of my work and my colleagues and the society around me as well.
Yes, that's very easy.
And these images are bombarding us of like the muscle size and all these kinds of things as well, right? I need to stay in shape. I think it helps me, but I guess it's a tool. It's a means to an end.
I like what you're sensing there. For us, of course, caring for the body is important, especially disciplining the body is important. So in that sense, athleticism can facilitate the development of virtue by teaching your body to obey and forcing your body, however you feel, to do what you know is best for the body. So when you need to run 3 miles, even though you don't want to force yourself to do that is very, very important. And that can contribute to the acquisition of spiritual virtue, such that when you want to respond, for instance, to an insult, if you're used to training yourself not to respond to impulses, but to pray first and then act in the name of Christ, that kind of physical discipline can pass over also to spiritual accomplishments, so that you can develop spiritual muscles. So for us, athleticism shows in a toned physical body, but spiritual athleticism shows in the expansion of the heart. So most of us have very, what shall we say, small hearts. And for most people, the goal in their life, it's a big accomplishment to be able to choose, for instance, if you're a man, to choose a woman to serve and to love and to sanctify, because that's the calling of a man in marriage. You have to wash his water with the word, with an eye to the judgment, because he's going to present her to Christ. We're called to present our wives better for being with us. It's hard for most men. They have to open their heart, right? They have to push their heart. We have to learn to love our wives like we love ourselves, which is why Paul says, love your wife as you love yourself. We don't have to learn to love ourselves. We unfortunately have far too much love for ourselves, and we have to learn to love the other. That's what's happening. That's what happens in marriages. And then you have a child, and now you have to expand your heart a little more and get your child in there, such that you become concerned with his or her physical health, spiritual maturity, development of human qualities. These things become your great existence. And the larger that comes and the more attachments you have, your heart grows. And eventually, the goal is to make your heart dominant. St. Paul had such a huge heart that he wrote to the Corinthians and he said, my heart is opened wide. I have you in my heart. And I heard a beautiful word once about the goal of the expansion of the heart. I heard it actually from our mutual friend, Father Zacharias, the spiritual son of Saint Sophronian, the great spiritual father at Essex, at St. John the Baptist Monastery. He said the goal of human life is for the human person to become all heart. 100%. Your heart becomes dominant in your whole life, and you put the world in there. That's what Saint Silouan did. He left the world so that he could connect himself to Christ and then join with Christ in embracing the world and putting the burden of the world inside of his heart. This is true monasticism. So I absolutely support the idea of a definition of manliness that has at its core Christ as our model. And that means a leadership that is voluntary slavery, right? If you want to go up, you have to go down if you want to be a masculine man. And it's far harder to do that, Paul, than it is to run a marathon. It's far harder than that to become a master of some physical discipline. It's important to master what you're called to, for sure, but to actually learn to sacrifice and to be to consider virtue to be voluntary slavery to someone else. If you love someone, you have to follow Christ, and that means being the servant of all. If you want to be great, Jesus doesn't say you shouldn't want to be great. He doesn't say that. It's good to want to be great. You just have to define greatness and great masculinity. We could also say you have to define that according to how he defines it. And greatness is defined by who you serve.